Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Tuesday, the second day of August, 2022, Tuesday of the 18th week of the year, but on the Franciscan calendar, it is the feast of Our Lady of the Angels, the Porciuncula. This is the great feast for OFM friars as opposed to conventual or Capuchin friars, although all friars acknowledge and celebrate the feast day. The Chapel of Our Lady of the Angels is the one that is at the valley below, the Spoleto Valley, below Assisi. It has a tremendous basilica around it, and in the middle of the basilica is this tiny chapel wherein Francis established himself. Again, after rebuilding San Damiano, the first brothers came about 1210 with him to kind of make the Our Lady of the Angels the base, the home base for the Franciscan movement as it was growing and it was expanding. The thing about the Porciuncula, again, it's called the Porciuncula as the little portion. It was a little chapel, and again, it's all Francis needed from which, to bring brothers into the community and then to send them forth in the missions of evangelization that went about from there. So it is also the place where a great indulgence, as we understand indulgences, was permitted. And so, again, it's always hard to understand really what an indulgence does and how it works, because sins are forgiven when they're forgiven. But here you get a boatload of sins forgiven if you follow some procedures and some steps to be able to do that. Again, it's a medieval concept. Again, the important thing is always to know that God forgives, and we don't need to jump through hoops for God to forgive us. And that's important today because although there are special readings for Our Lady of the Angels, I don't have the Franciscan lectionary with me. And so we turn to Jeremiah, who is today's first reading. And in it, again, God tells Jeremiah to write down everything that he is telling Jeremiah. And basically, the first thing is that Israel has messed up royally, and everything they've done has been against whatever God has wanted, and God has then allowed them, because they have messed up royally, to suffer, the great injustices and the oppressions and the tragedies and the sadnesses of being overcome by another people, being exiled into Babylon, and all these other kinds of things. But then God also says, I still will not give up on you, because I cannot give up on you, because you are my chosen people, even if you act like a bunch of morons. So the thing is that God then says that God will deliver Israel, establish Israel again, make Israel into something mighty and wonderful. And the last two lines of this passage, you will be my people and I will be your God. Again, God reaffirms, because God is the one who is in charge. God is the one who creates everything that there is. God is the one who lifts us from the burdens and the pains that we find ourselves in. God does not delight in punishments. God does not delight in the oppressions that Israel is experiencing. But God tells Israel that it will not give up on them if Israel will not give up on God, which is so important and which is crucial for us to remember. In Matthew's gospel, basically Jesus has fed the 5,000. He's tried to go to a place to pray. The apostles are in a boat and there's a storm and they're afraid, and Jesus walks on water, and Peter, the idiot, basically thinks he can do the same, but then doubts and begins to sink, and Jesus rescues him. But then everybody believes that he's the Son of God, because once he gets into the boat, the winds die down and the storm ceases, etc., etc. Again, this whole back and forth always of the apostles and their inability to truly believe, their inability to truly get the message, their inability to truly, move forward with this. And yet Jesus does not give up on them. Even in their stupidity and their ignorance and their misguidedness and how they mess up everything, Jesus still keeps them close, because Jesus knows there is more to them than their lack of whatever. That's important for us to remember always, that Jesus knows there's more to us than whatever lacking we have, than whatever faults we have, than whatever misguided purposes we have. There is much more to us. And that is important to remember, because ours is a faith always of the more. Whatever more God can do for us, whatever more God can offer to us, whatever more God can allow us to experience, is part of that graciousness, that wonder, that beauty that is God in our midst. And may the Lord give you his peace.